ओम गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेव महेश्वर गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओम ह्रीं श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। Okay. So one of the reasons why we chanted the Bhadram Karnebhi at the starting and Sahana Bhavatu. So I said these are because this Upanishad is from, there are various, there are two schools of thought. One is that it is from the Atharva Veda, and the other is probably in the Krishna Yajurveda. So we chant both the Shanti mantras of both the Vedas. And as I said, this is called as a Yoga Upanishad. So there are minor Upanishads in the corpus of Upanishads. There are 108, right, total. In that, 20 of them have been classified as. There are many minor Upanishads. There are major Upanishads which are generally familiar with Isha, Kena, Katha, Munda, Mandukya, Taittiriya, Aitiriya, Prashna, Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka. So these are 10 major Upanishads, and there are a few more major Upanishads like Shvetasvatara Upanishad, Mahanarayana Upanishad, and all that. There are many minor Upanishads. There is a Jabala Upanishad, there is a Rudra Upanishad, there is Amritabindu Upanishad, Tejo Bindu Upanishad, Nada Bindu Upanishad. So many of these are minor Upanishads, considered to be smaller, not necessarily because of the content, but it's just because of its popularity. Not too many commentaries are there on that, and it's also very it just focuses probably on one area, one particular subject matter. But minor Upanishads are also very very direct, and these 20 Upanishads, or 20 of them, have been classified as Yoga Upanishad because there are, in some form, there are methods mentioned in it. The other Upanishads you see, there are no methods of any kind mentioned. It's usually just talking about Jiva Jagat Ishvara, which means the world. Jagat, it talks about the Jagat, it talks about Jiva, it talks about the Supreme Brahman, it talks about the relationship between Atma and Brahman. This is what it does. But these Yoga Upanishads have some practices in some form indicated. So they've classified this as Yoga Upanishad. Yoga is usually related to some kind of technique or practices, which is why it is referred to as that. Now, what happens is when we look at these Upanishads, these documents, or particularly we are looking at Amritabindu Upanishad in this context, right? It is not very you don't feel, I mean, why would you want to pick up this text and read? Because it just feels very theoretical and feels very dry, and there is no ruchi. There's a term in Sanskritam to indicate an interest, ruchi. So that is something that we need to develop with some of these texts. Why do we need to develop a ruchi or a taste? Essentially it's taste. Some kind of a taste we have to develop, is because when the mind is low, when the mind is going through some kind of unsettling conflict, turmoil, these texts help you. When you look at it, when you pick it up and you look at it, it helps you to kind of reconfigure the way we are processing whatever we are processing. Whatever is going on inside, the conflict, the disturbance, all of that, it helps to kind of realign. Sorry. So Amritabindu Upanishad also in that same context It may not be very popular. It may not be the same as picking up, say, Nagendra Haraya Trilochanaya, or Kshiro Danva Pradesheshu Chiman Valasat, or Vishnu Vashatkaro. Those are, we feel a little connection, a personal connection with a lot of these stotras and shlokas. Upanishads, we may not feel that outright, because when you're saying Vishwam Vishnu Vashatkaro Bhuta Bhavya Bhavat Prabhu, you're already visualizing Vishnu, Narayana, visualizing that he's coming down, he's helping you, he's present with you, and all of that we are visualizing. So there's a lot of devotional element when it comes to some of these shlokas and mantras that we chant. But with Upanishads, usually that is kept aside. It invokes the analytical aspect of your brain, the mind, analytical and the experiential. It helps you to pay attention to your present state, pay attention to what is going on within you, pay attention to basically look at yourself. So as though almost looking at yourself in the mirror. Upanishads brings you to that. The other shlokas and mantras are very good because it gives you, energizes you, makes you feel comfortable, gives you some kind of solace, gives you some kind of um, it helps you come out of some mood that you're in, and all of that. It kind of helps you with that because there is a devotion involved in it. And then repeatedly we have done that. By means of repetition, there is a certain association that we have formed. But the Upanishads, we have not done that. Which is why it is also a good practice to pick up a small Upanishad and chant it regularly. Keno Upanishad, not too big, can chant. Ishavasya Upanishad, only 18 verses, we can chant. So some of these Upanishads also try to chant in your a little bit time when you get to, you take out for yourself, or allocate some time, maybe once in a month or so, to chant one or two Upanishads. Some of the sannyasis take up this as a sadhana. They chant Upanishads as a sadhana. Just chant. Regularly chant. Pick up one or two. You don't have to take up the Chandogya Upanishad and start chanting. It's a pretty vast work. You can pick up the smaller ones. If you take Kathopanishad, you can say, okay, I will chant the first bhaga, first kanda, then the second kanda, and so on. Taittiriya Upanishad, there are 3 vallis. You can't. Taittiriya Upanishad is regularly used as a chant also in Vedic rituals. So what happens is you familiarize yourself with these verses, and it becomes quite adlo ruchi vandro. You'll start developing an interest in that, right? Like there is a very beautiful verse in Agamarshana Suktam. I've used that in the next book that I'm publishing. It's a very beautiful verse. Ardran jvalati jyotirhamasmi, jyotirjvalati brahmahamasmi, sohamasmi brahmahamasmi, amevaham mam juhomi swaha. Very beautiful verse. But it's sitting in that Agamarshana Suktam. There are many other verses in the Agamarshana Suktam, but this verse is very, very direct and very profound. In the same way, Brahma Arpanam, Brahmavi, Brahmagno. So these are all, there are verses that you can pick up slowly by repeatedly chanting. Because it reminds you, when some of these verses are, you repeatedly do that, it reminds you of certain truths. At times when the mind goes into a variety of conflicts, when the mind goes through a variety of conflicts, these Upanishads help you, like how shlokas, mantras help you to calm it down, to connect with the divine in a very personal devotional way. Upanishad helps you to reflect upon your current situation, reflect upon not the situation in terms of the actual event that is happening. It helps you reflect upon how the mind is functioning, how the mind is responding, how the mind is reacting, how the mind is stuck and trapped, how the mind thinks that right now it is in a very difficult situation, or it is caught up, how the mind believes that it is caught up. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. We saw this last week. This mind is the reason for both bandha and moksha. So when Upanishad helps you to, when you read this line, for example, if you've read Amritabindu Upanishad regularly, you're reading, and when you come to this line, it helps you to reflect. என்னதான் சொல்றது அப்படின்னு? It helps you to reflect. Of course, after reading multiple times, it will also become mechanical. But at least it is a portal, it is a doorway. Some of these verses become a portal, become a doorway into reflecting upon yourself. And then it helps you clear your perspective, brings you clarity, helps you clear your perspective. Now, that perspective, we don't know if the situation will solve or not. The situation on the outside may be exactly the same, but now you will respond to it differently. You will respond to it differently. Right? Now, I had a similar situation recently. I was going through a bit of a conflict in terms of some events. I actually I spoke to my family, and then I also picked up Ishavasya Upanishad and I went through it. It helps you bring clarity in perception. But that we will be able to pick it up only when you build a certain interest or association with it. The way we have built association with our Rudram, Namakam, Chamakam, Vishnu Sahasranamam, Lalita Sahasranamam, we have not built that kind of a relationship with Upanishads. We have to build it. And when you build that, then you will feel like picking it up. It will not feel alien. It will not feel like a topic only for a satsang conversation. This is how we have to develop bringing it into our daily reference. This is what even many Mahatmas did. Mahatma Gandhi did this with Bhagavad Gita. He would say every day he would open up a page in Bhagavad Gita and whatever one or two verses that appears in that page, he will pick that up as the guiding principle for that day. Randomly he'll pick up. So we should keep some text or something like this that we are able to associate ourselves with. Bhagavad Gita is a great text that way. That is also a wonderful text. But we have to build that ruchi, that interest, that association with that text. That ruchi building will not happen on its own. That we have to build. So why do we put this effort? So that when we are going through conflicts, difficult situations, mentally strenuous moments, at that time these will come to your aid because you have invested in them. It's as simple as that. There are no returns without investment. I can't say I'll just simply sit like this, oh Bhagavan, you do. We have to invest. How do we invest? Is by reading continuously or fixing up something. Vedic Upanishads are wonderful texts in that sense. Bhagavad Gita or Upanishads. We have to develop that interest. We have to develop that ruchi. And again, as I said, it does not develop in a day. We have to make a sankalpa that over time, one way to do a sankalpa is that I will read one page of this every day. So whether you like it or not, start doing it. And then finish one cycle, 21 days, whatever, 40 days, finish a cycle, give a break, and again pick up the same text and go through that cycle again. Right? Sometimes you don't have to know the meaning also. Sometimes you can just start with just chanting that. For example, if you're taking Keno Upanishad, or you're taking Amritabindu Upanishad, or you're taking any works like this, just repeatedly read that. I'll say this 21 days I'm going to do Ishavasya Upanishad, 18 verses every day. Yeah, there are Vedic intonations. Don't worry about that. Right? You're not going to go and chant in a homa. This is for your own creating that love, affection, and association with that. That is why she is called Shruti Mata. Vedas are called the Shruti Mata because she is compassionate. There is a lot of love and affection there if we are able to associate. We have to create that association. That effort we have to take. So today's verse is, he is saying, the Rishi is saying, Yato nirvishayasyasya manaso mukti rishyate. We have understood in the previous verse that the mind is the sole tool to either get bound or to be liberated. Now he's saying, now that you know that mind is the tool to be liberated, he's saying, how do we do it? He says, Yato nirvishayasyasya manaso mukti rishyate. Since the mind that is devoid of association with sense objects, such a mind is the cause of liberation. Therefore, the mind should be free of objects. Ato nirvishayam nityam manah karyam mumukshuna. So, one who is seeking liberation, one who is seeking moksha, should then keep the mind free from sense objects. The first verse itself brings that, right? Manohi dvividham proktam shuddham cha shuddham evacha. Ashuddham kama sankalpam, shuddham kama vivarjitam. So the one, and then next one is bandhaya vishaya saktam. It is bound because of vishaya, or because of objects. The mind remains bound because of objects, because of association with objects. Objects means everything. Objects mean everything. People, situation, my role, my responsibilities, everything. All of this is objects. My relationship, my people. So when the mind remains in contact and continuous contact with objects, it remains bound. So the third verse is saying that because the mind that is devoid of the sense objects, such a mind can go to liberation. Hence, please keep your mind devoid of objects. Yato nirvishayasyasya manaso mukti ishyate. Ato, therefore, nirvishayam nityam manaha. Keep your mind nirvishayam. So what does it mean by nirvishayam? Means do not fill your mind with objects. For example, we do this doom scrolling on Instagram. What is happening is, I don't know if all know this term, right? So doom scrolling, na, what people do is you've got Instagram on the phone and you keep scrolling. Suddenly you like something, you watch it for 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then you scroll, and then you scroll, and then you scroll. And then you keep doing this, God knows for how long, right? We just keep doing this because the mind doesn't know to rest. If we know, say, okay, I'm 30 minutes, I'm going to just do doom scrolling. That's all right. We define a time, we tell ourselves this 30 minutes, I'm going to do that. But whenever you pick up the phone, we get into a habit. It becomes a compulsive action. Compulsive action leads you to association with sense objects, association to objects, compulsive action, because the action, your sense objects in the mind always knows to go outwards only. And the more you remain with the outward, the more suffering, the more disturbance, the more conflict, the more unsettling. Because remember, you have experienced peace. Each one of us here have experienced peace. We have experienced what it means to be settled in the mind. We know what it means to be settled and remain in a state of calm. We all know. We have all experienced it. So you have to reflect back to think that, did that calm come because of anything on the outside? Did anything on the outside change? Maybe your environment changed. You went to a better place. You went to a place where there is no mosquitoes. There is no, there is enough air conditioning or whatever comfortable, physically comfortable location you may have gone. But what has changed on the outside so much significantly for you to find that peace inside? It is in the inside. Obviously, the energies on the outside have an influence. Right? It is difficult to go and sit and find that peace and calm and meditate in a discotheque, because the environment is not built for that. It's easier to do that in a temple. Loud music in a temple helps you to dissolve the mind, but loud music in the discotheque agitates you. It is loud music, both are loud and both are sounds, but they have different impacts on you. So the external environment has an impact. But where does the calm and peace rise? It rises within you. Because once the external influence, for example, you're going into a temple and there is this beautiful loud nadaswaram and tabil and all of that, and then mani adikirade and all of that is there, and then your mind gets dissolved. When the mind dissolves, does it matter what is happening on the outside? It is it only enables you. It is an impetus, it is an enabler. The external environment is an enabler. But once it starts going in, it's going in of its own accord. It is going in by its own nature. And we have all experienced this peace. That is nirvishaya. When the mind goes into that state of peace, you know that now I am not associated with any of this on the outside. Things come, go, whatever has happened. The greatest of tragedies would have happened, the greatest of glories would have come. Whatever has happened, when the mind goes and touches that peace within, it is because of that withdrawal. That withdrawal has helped this peace. This is what he's saying. Nirvishayam nityam manaha. Keep the mind continuously in a nirvishaya state. And that is very difficult for us. But the Upanishad always, we have to look at the Upanishad in a very it is not playing around with you. It doesn't play around with you. It is telling you clearly. See, if you are able to keep your mind, ataha, if you are able to keep your mind nirvishayam nityam manaha, then karya mumukshuna, such a seeker of liberation, he will attain to that. Now, how we have to see it is, are we going in that direction? It is a directional statement. If you continuously train yourself, train your mind to be in a state of silence and calm within, then we are moving in that direction of liberation. This is what it is saying. Then the fourth verse is nirasta vishayasangam samniruddham manohridi yada yatyat manobhavam tada tatparamam padam. So then it is saying, after removing the attachment to the objects, nirasta vishaya sangam, creating an asangam, removing the nirastha, the sangam with the objects, Vishaya Sangam, sam niruddham, and restraining the mind in the heart. Manohridi, san niruddham manohridi, taking the mind into the heart. Yada yatyat mano bhavam tada tatparamam padam. He says, then moving the heart, moving the mind into the heart and retaining it there in its own state. Tada tatparamam padam. It attains to the supreme goal. So what it means is, first, what you're doing, first you're recognizing mind is the cause of bandha and being mukta. Once you have identified that being bound or being liberated, the tool is the mind. Now what you're doing, if at that point, if you tell yourself that, listen, I'm okay to be bound. Why am I even seeking liberation? I am not. Then in the Upanishad, you can close and go. The second verse, you can close the Upanishad and go. But we are seeking liberation. Why? Because that is our true nature. See, you only seek that which you are. Rumi has this beautiful quote. He says, Jalaluddin Rumi, the Sufi saint. He says, that which you are seeking is seeking you. Which means that which you are seeking is already you in some ways. You are seeking it because it is there in you. Why will you seek peace and calm if it is not there? If you don't have an intuitive understanding that it is there, you will not seek. என்ன நிம்மதியா விடுங்க, என்ன பீஸ்ஃபுல்லா விடுங்க, என்ன காமா விடுங்க அப்படின்னு we want to do that. Why do we do that? We don't teach children when they are growing up to be that way. Even a hyperactive child, even if you tell chumma ukar oru edathila ukar, if you tell the child to sit in one place, it will not sit. It will not try to practice sitting calm and all that. But as you grow older, why do you realize suddenly you feel that you want to be peaceful, you want to be calm? You don't want this inner turmoil. Because somewhere within you, you know that your stable state is a state of no turmoil, no conflict. So that is why you keep seeking that, because that is your natural state. See, this is what we need to understand. That is our natural state. Children, they are hyperactive is just physically. They are mentally not disturbed. They are mentally not conflicted. We don't see a child very hyperactive and you say that, it's a conflicted child. No, the child has got no conflict. When it goes to sleep, it will sleep off very nicely. Tuck and it will go off to sleep, and then it's just physical agitation that will be there. But when it goes out to sleep, it can go completely off to sleep, knock off. And next day will be a fresh morning. It doesn't carry conflict. It doesn't carry turmoil. But as you grow older, we develop conflict and turmoil, and because there is a huge gap between aspiration and reality, desires and the actual life you're living. So that gap keeps increasing. So we are seeking that natural state where you don't want this gap intuitively. Nobody has to tell you. Nobody has to tell anybody that you need to be peaceful, because there's a natural state we are seeking. So when you say that I am not seeking liberation, that is not right, because in some form or the other, we're all seeking liberation. We are all seeking liberation from this constant turmoil of the mind. We want the mind to function creatively, but we don't want it to cause disturbance for us, because it is an impediment in our creative process. We want to be creative, we want to be useful, we want to do things in the world. But then there is a psychological aspect of the mind which also pulls you back, creates a lot of these impediments from not being able to express yourself freely. So what are you trying to liberate yourself from? You're liberating yourself from that part of the mind that is holding you bound with your identity, with your continuous measurement, comparison. right? Your identity, it's so, the mind holds on to an identity. Mind wants to do comparison. Mind wants to do measurement. Mind wants to continuously uh, feed the ego, right? It becomes so self-centric. The mind keeps you self-centric. These are things of the mind you don't want to be associated with. You want to liberate yourself with. You want to liberate yourself from those aspects of the mind. But the creative aspects, when you have ideas or you want to do creative things, you want that aspect of the mind. So this whole journey is to retain or develop the aspect of the mind that is creative, and to slowly withdraw yourself from the aspects of the mind that are binding you, are not allowing you to express yourself freely. அவன் என்ன சொல்லுவான், இவன் என்ன சொல்லுவான், what will the world say, what will they think, what is this thing, that thing. All of these things are that aspect of the mind which you want freedom from. So the verse is saying, if you want freedom from that, then move away from objects, slowly withdraw from objects, and do what you've got to do, but withdraw, do it and move on, do it and move on. Don't cling on. So from withdrawal from objects, and he says, what do you do from withdrawal? You withdraw the mind from the objects and let it rest in the heart. Manohridi. Let it rest in the heart, because that is the place where, in fact, I saw a message recently. Swami Vivekananda says, when there is a conflict between the mind and the heart, always listen to the heart. Because the mind is very logical in nature. The heart is where the intuition operates. But heart is also the place which is filled with emotions and which is filled with you need to have a heart which is relatively also free from the clutches of emotions. Too much emotional engagement, you have to also kind of hold it back. Then heart becomes a place for beautiful intuitive responses to come. So what it's saying, the verse is nirastha vishaya sangam. Now you've taken the sanniruddham manohridi. You withdraw the mind from the objects, from the events, from people, from situations, from various events that have happened, from your memory, all of that. Take your mind, withdraw your mind, and settle it in your heart. When you settle it in your heart, even visualizing, you can visualize it this way. You're withdrawing your mind and you're settling it to the heart. And heart, don't think of the heart which is on the left side of the body. We're not talking about the physical heart. This is the hridaya, the spiritual heart. You can either visualize it on the right side or in the center. And that is where the heart chakra is. The anahata chakra is in the center of the chest. Right? There or on the right side is all right. But the center of the heart, center of your chest is where the heart is. Visualize you're withdrawing all your associations, all your attachments, all your desires, aspirations, all that on the outside, and you're dissolving yourself into the heart. And you're staying there. What it says is, Yada yatyatmano bhavam tada tatparamam padam. It says, restrain your attention in the heart. Bring it there and leave it in the heart, and let it rest in the heart. And when it rests in the heart, what has happened now? Again, the mind will think, oh, what about this? What about... No. So you've told the mind that shut up. I'm going to give you some rest from all these things that you're jumping around, and I want you to rest here. Why is this important? Because you're training the mind slowly to pull itself from the objects. See, the question is, what do I do after I withdraw? So the Upanishad is saying, after you withdraw, let it rest in the heart. Which means where your attention is in the heart. Right? You can bring your attention, you can keep your attention here and then think about the heart. You can keep your attention on the third eye and then think about the heart chakra. And then say that everything is dissolving here. Because the heart has a great, or the Hridaya has a great ability to consume everything with love. And this love is not towards somebody. See, where do you feel any emotion, including love? It's usually said you feel it in the heart, right? In the Hridaya. This is where you feel it. But the purest form of emotion, which is love, is also felt in the Hridaya. So what you're doing is, by withdrawing everything, you're not going into a state of depression. Because the mind can also question, saying that, oh, ella withdraw panniyachi, ipo enna வாழ்க்கையில அவ்வளவுதானா, or what is this life about, and all that. The mind will again start creating conflicts in your head because it wants to keep you agitated. But when you go into the heart, when you go into the Hridaya, there is a sweet emotion of love that will be there because you're resting in the heart. And in the heart, Narayana Suktam talks about a beautiful inverted lotus in the heart. Hridaya Madhyastham. The Hridaya Madhyastham, there is an inverted lotus. So when you bring it into the heart, there is a sweet emotion that will be experienced. And that emotion retains you there. Because otherwise, the mind becomes, it's a dry exercise. See how beautiful the Upanishad is guiding. If you just withdraw, and then you say, okay, now what? Then somebody says, oh, you'll see a light, or somebody says you'll hear Om, you'll hear this, you'll smell this. Those are all hallucinations. Because what you need to do is bring this state of quietude and bring it into the heart so that it turns into a sweet emotion. Otherwise, if you remain in the head, which is one of the next verses, we'll talk about it. If you remain in the head, it will only drive logic. And if you're somebody who is naturally emotional, this is a beautiful way to convert your emotion into a sweet emotion all the time. And you're not in the sweet emotion because of something. It is because of this withdrawal. You are resting in that, into the, like how your natural state is to be of peace, your natural state is to be in love. It is not the love that you express outside. It is the feeling of love inside you. When nobody is there, do you feel loved? When nobody is around, nobody is there with you, you are in complete isolation. Do you feel a sense of love, or do you feel a sense of loneliness? We typically feel a sense of loneliness, right? Why do we feel that? Because we are always used to having love from the outside. Somebody has to love, somebody has to care, somebody has to give me attention, somebody has to give me focus, somebody has to give me this, that. This continuous need for attention, love, care, all of that to come from the outside, we have trained ourselves to recognize that as only love. And when there is nobody, we don't know how to be in that state of love. And the problem is, we should, and the problem is, unfortunately, if you get into such situations, we don't know how to handle a situation. So what we should do is, when we are surrounded with people, we should practice this. We should practice times of isolation. Very, 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 very important. Practice times of isolation. Isolation from your family, isolation from your people at work, isolation from your friends, isolation from your loved ones, isolation from your pet dog, isolation from everything at certain times. maybe monthly once, maybe weekly once, maybe whatever. Identify that and isolate. Or you could do it early in the morning before everybody wakes up, or late at night after everybody goes to sleep, or during a travel that you're going alone, right? Practice this. Being in solitude, isolating yourself is not for to feel, then you'll feel lonely. No, it is solitude. You're practicing solitude. And in this practice of solitude, try to do this exercise. Read the Upanishad, read whatever. Try to withdraw the mind and take it into the heart. So, as a practice, you're breathing, do some pranayama and all that, and then think about bring your attention to what your mind is doing: objects, things, people, events, situations, identity. I am this, I am that, I want to be this, I want to be that, I have to do this, I have responsibilities. All of these are assumed. Understand this. Your responsibilities are assumed responsibility. Your identity is an assumed identity. The events of the past, right now, you're bringing into your mind, it doesn't exist now. You're assuming it now. What somebody thinks about you, it's your assumption. It may be true. You may have 100 evidences of why somebody is behaving that way. I know they are thinking like this. All that is fine. But right now, it is in your mind, it's an assumption. All of these withdraw and say, now what do? I withdraw and then I settle it into the heart. And in the heart, when it settles there, you will feel a palpitation, a slow palpitation in the heart, right? There, when it settles into a certain kind of peace, when that peace is there, at that place, at the exact location, there is love. Because peace and love are not two different things. Peace is where love is. And wherever there is love, there is peace. Unfortunately, the love we have associated with all of this love amongst relationships, people, my children, my relatives, my husband, wife, my dog, my pet, my whatever, right? The love is always on the outside for us because we're always looking for expression. We need love as an impression, not as an expression. We should experience love as an impression that is within us all the time. And so that peace, when you recognize and when you experience that love, அப்புறம் வேற யார் வேணும்? Who else do you need then? Who else do we need? Because that love, that joy, that peace, right now, right here, you can experience. Who else do we need? So that is what the verse is saying. Tavadeva nirodhavyam yavat hridi gatam kshayam. In the 5th verse, it says, only as long as the mind can remain in the heart, then there is etad cha dhyanam cha. Till then, there is dhyanam, there is jnanam, there is wisdom, and there is meditation. Shesho nyayascha vistaraha. Remaining everything else is only nyaya, logic. Because, see, that is what they say, the heart doesn't know logic. Right? The heart doesn't know logic. The heart is only emotions. It is important to bring logic into emotion. The mind only knows logic, dry logic. What if like this? What if like that? What if this, that, this, that? That is all it knows. And the heart, all it knows is unbridled emotion. Unbridled means uncontrolled. The emotion will go whatever, wherever. The combination of an uncontrolled or an unregulated mind and an unbridled heart is a very bad combination. Your mind is not regulated because all thoughts will flow, and your heart is also not, you've not learned how to regulate your heart or your emotions. Both of these, bad combination. Because anything that the thought goes towards, the heart immediately will follow. This is how it is. Why does, right now you're just sitting here, suddenly some thought of the past, of somebody's action will come into your mind, or some message will come on the phone. Then a thought goes. You are peaceful, you are calm. But suddenly a message came on the phone. Then all the thoughts about that individual will rise, and the emotions with that thought will also rise. And now you've become agitated. What happened? Actually, nothing has happened. But now you have become restless. You have lost the peace. Why does this happen? Because in many ways, the heart, the emotions are tied to your thoughts. And that is why feeling love is also a thought. Feeling anxiety is also a thought. Feeling joyful is also a thought. Feeling peaceful is also a thought. You bring about a thought, and then you can feel that. There's a very close relationship between the two. So if your mind can get agitated by no particular event that has happened, but just because the mind has generated a thought, the mind, what it has done inside you, it has generated a thought based on a stimulus from the outside. See, outside is just a stimulus. It can be like a stimulus that came and went. It is not doing anything to you. You look at somebody on television, and that person reminds you of some person who has harmed you. That person resembles the person who has harmed you in the past, or you have spoken ill about you. Finished. அவன் மாதிரி இருக்கான்ல அப்படின்னு சொல்லி முடிஞ்சது. Mind will go from there. So, oh, well, you know what that guy did, that person did, அப்படி இப்படின்னு சொல்லி the mind will go there. And you don't just let the mind, the thoughts rise, your emotions also rise. You're replaying that whole event of the past in the present, and you're disturbing yourself completely. And you don't have any control over this whole process. That is the worst part. The worst part is you have no control on this whole process that is going in you. So basically, you make yourself miserable all the time. So the verse is saying, can you bring it into the heart and remain in the heart? Don't let these thoughts rise and the heart follow it. You do the reverse. You bring in all those thoughts and you push it to the heart and say that rest there, remain there. I want to dissolve these things, the mind, the aspirations, the desires, the events, the memories, the likes, the dislikes. I want to bring all that and rest it here because it's in me. The person that I hate so much may have changed, may not have. The person that I loved may have changed, may not have. But the emotion that rises in me is entirely mine. And if I don't have control over the emotions that are rising in me, we are baddha. We are bound. We are bound. And so the verse says, Tavadeva nirodhavyam yavad hridi gatam kshayam. Till the mind dissolves into the heart, retain it there. Let it dissolve in the heart. Because when it dissolves in the heart, if you let the emotions follow the thoughts, thoughts are completely out of whack because they go in all directions. If you let your emotions follow your thoughts, you are in no control of things. You are a slave. But if you bring the thoughts and your memories and your events and your situations and your relationships, your aspirations, your desires, your likes, your dislikes, everything, see, bundle it up, completely bundle it up like that. You just visualize you're bundling that and then you're pushing it down into the heart. And we push it down into the heart and you say that, Chumaire, just sit there. Because I don't want agitation. I don't want restlessness. I want to remain calm. I want to be in control of my emotions. I want to be in control of my being. I am in control of my being, my situation, my condition, whatever. So keep it down on the heart till the whole thing dissolves into the heart. Because the love that is there in your heart has a great power. It has a great power. Because then after that, when you are working with people, you are loving in nature. You are not engaging with somebody with love because I like this individual. With this individual, no. No, being, you becoming loving in nature. So then after a certain point, this differentiation slowly dissolves. This is the direction in which the Upanishad is leading us. It says, Eta jnanam cha dhyanam cha. This is what is jnanam. This is dhyanam. This is wisdom. And this is the meaning of meditation. Everything else, shesho, nyayascha vistaraha. Everything else is just logic. Mattadalla, you can keep talking till the cows come home. You can keep talking. It is all just that. Then the next verse, it's a verse 10, but I brought it here just for the theme. 10th verse, with this theme gets completed. 10th verse says, the one who has understood all of this, the wise one, then after that is no longer seeking liberation nor trying to constrain the mind. Nor is he in bondage, nor is he practicing something. Na nirodho na chotpattir na baddho na cha sadhaka. He is not neither bound nor is he a sadhaka. Na mumukshurna. Why mukta? He is not a mumukshu or somebody who's a seeker, nor he is a liberated man. Ityesha paramarthata. Because he is devoid of all of this. The struggle is for people like us. Ingyumilla, angyumilla. Rendum kattam. That is duality. Duality is rendum kattam. We are neither on shunya nor on purna. Go completely shunya or experience purnatva. One of the two. We are somewhere in between. And that somewhere in between, it is based on our prarabdha, based on our way we are composed, the way we are, our likes, our dislikes, our the way we see the world, our perceptions, all are colored. Everything is colored. But somebody who has understood this, saying somebody who's understood and practiced and done this, then after that he is no longer seeking, nor is he bound. He is neither bound nor liberated, which means he is not seeking liberation. He is not no longer trying to seek liberation because that desire to seek liberation is also not there. We've spoken about this. Buddha attained enlightenment after the last leg in the whole process was for him to drop the desire for enlightenment. He actually went to attain nirvana, but then he realized at some point towards the final stage, he realized that, of course, we are telling it now as final stage. He didn't know that as a final stage, but he thought that everything is going on, but I've come to a place where the desire to nirvana itself is holding me back from nirvana. So he dropped the desire. Vanda varatam, varalena varala. And after that, it happened. So this, um, so what this verse is saying, there are the wise men, they come to a place where they have so much clarity, is dawns upon them, that they are not hankering to be liberated, because they don't feel bound. As simple as that. Since they don't feel bound, they are not aspiring for liberation also. So that is the 10th verse. It says, Na nirodho na chotpattirna baddho na sadhakah na mumukshurna vai muktah ityesha paramarthata. So for us, verses 3, 4, 5 are important today. This is yato nirvishayasya. It comes as a following from number 2, right? Verse number 2, where we are saying, we've now understood that mind is the reason for being bound, mind is the reason for being liberated. If I want to be free from all the conditions of my mind, the mind is the only tool. So once you've understood that, it says, yato nirvishayasya manaso muktirishyate ato nirvishayam nityam manah karyam mukshana. Which means, since the mind that is devoid of objects is the mind that can be liberated, hence please keep your mind devoid of objects, so that you can be in that direction, you can move in that direction. So which means you withdraw your mind from the objects. And then the next verse says, what do I do after withdrawing? Nirastha vishaya sangam sanniruddham manohridi yada yatyat manobhavam tada tat paramam padam. So after I withdraw from the mind, consciously withdraw myself from all these associations, identities I've created, I move that whole bundle into the heart. I don't let the heart follow the mind. I let the mind dissolve into the heart. And why heart? Because heart is where the experience of love is. Emotion, the purest of all emotions, is the emotion of love. Not towards an individual. It's just the emotion of love. It's a pleasant, soft, pleasant emotion. When you're looking at a mountain with clouds, you can feel love. It doesn't have to be a person. You look at the mountain with clouds and you feel some kind of joy and love inside. When you look at the trees hustling in the wind, you can feel love. When you see the wind blowing and the waters and the ocean waters moving, you can feel love. When you listen to beautiful music, we'll feel love. Not towards an individual, but the experience and sense of love. So you bring that all that mind components and put it into the heart and let it dissolve there. It says, till the time it doesn't dissolve into the heart, keep it there. Tavadeva nirodhavyam, which means till the time it doesn't dissolve. Yavad hridi gatam kshayam, it doesn't dissolve and go away. Till that time, keep it in the heart. Dissolve what? Dissolve all these things of the mind, the complexities of the mind, till it kind of dissolves. It's like a beautiful soil. Everything you put it into the soil, it will go in and get dissolved slowly over time, right? Etajnanam cha dhyanam cha. This is, he says, is wisdom. This is meditation. Shesho nyayascha vistara. Everything else is just logic. Mattadella vartegalla. Just words, just words. So which is why this is a yoga Upanishad, because it is giving you a way, a method, a technique, not just to analyze to death, right? The analysis paralysis, which means you analyze till you get paralyzed. Don't have to analyze so much, right? Atma vichara, this Vedanta vichara or this vichara marga or this contemplation, path of contemplation is not just to contemplate, think what I did, how I did this. No. Because how much ever you think about different objects, different things, different people, different events, different whatever that has happened, it will only be more and more and more and more. That's it. Where will it end? It is like kadugu, small mustard seeds. It is so many in number. How can you collect all of it? It's just strewn around like that, right? It's so small, so many of them. It is very energy consuming to try to analyze those things. Best is, the fundamental thing is, don't analyze any of that. Just observe. Observe and bring it down. No? This is what it is saying. So tavadeva nirodhavyam yavad hridi gatam kshayam eta jnanam cha dhyanam cha shesho nyayascha vistara. And then 10th verse says that a wise man who's understood and practiced this remains in a state where he is no longer trying to be free. The freedom is not, he wouldn't come and state that I'm liberated, I've attained nirvana. Just the desire to be free is dropped. Then the process is in place. This individual or this person has slowly moved from, he doesn't feel bound anymore. So then he is not hankering, I want to be free. That is also a certain kind of a very strong, I want to be free, I want to be free. I want nirvana, I want. So slowly you move towards a place where it becomes a natural, you come to a place where you become observant to the natural state of things, and then you're just becoming clear in your perception. I think we ran over by 7 minutes. We'll close now. So this clarity of perception is very important. When your mind is withdrawn and goes into the heart and settles in with love, then when you open up your eyes and you see the world, you'll see the world with a much greater clarity and perception. Yeah. So today we've finished the first theme, Mano Nigraha. Yeah, next week we'll pick up the second theme. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana va Prakrite Swabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayana Yeti Samarpayami Sadashivayeti Samarpayami Jagadambiketi Samarpayami Sadgurunathayeti Samarpayami Hari Om Tat Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Gurudeva. Hari Om.